Have you ever looked around your office and just wondered, what makes this place tick? You know, why are some teams just absolute rock stars while others can barely get off the ground? Well, today, we're diving deep into the science behind all of that. We're going to pull back the curtain on our behavior at work. Seriously, think about it. It's a puzzle we've all tried to solve, right? You can have two teams, same resources, same skills on paper, but one is just on fire and the other one is just fizzling out. What's the secret ingredient? What is going on behind the scenes? That's the big mystery we're tackling. So there's actually a whole field of study for this called organizational behavior. But what does that really mean? What is it trying to do? Well, to figure that out, we're first going to clear the air by busting some of the most common myths out there. Yep, that's right. Before we can really get what organizational behavior, or OB for short, truly is, we've got to talk about what it isn't. So let's get right into it. Okay, first up, myth number one. It's this idea that there's some kind of perfect, secret rule book for management. You know, option A from our list, that it just prescribes one uniform technique for everyone. The belief that what works for a tiny startup should work exactly the same for a giant corporation. But does it really? No way. Not even close. Our source material is crystal clear on this one. The truth is, context is everything. People are different, company cultures are different, entire industries are different. OB isn't about some magic, one-size-fits-all solution. It's about understanding what makes each unique situation tick. So option A is definitely out. All right, let's move on to myth number two. This is a big one. That feeling that feels like OBR are really just about creating fancy algorithms to replace human judgment, to automate away the need for actual managers and real decisions. But get this, it's actually the total opposite. The whole point is the human part of human behavior. OB is all about diving into the messy, complicated, and frankly fascinating ways that we think, feel, and act at work. It's not trying to make us obsolete. It's trying to understand us. So, see? Busted. And that brings us to the last big myth, which is tied to option D. This is the classic idea that when you get right down to it, people only care about one thing, money. That every decision, every action is just about the paycheck. But is that really all there is to it? You already know the answer. Of course not. Now, don't get me wrong. Getting paid is important, obviously. But the source is clear that focusing only on money is a huge mistake. Motivation is so much more complex. Think about things like feeling recognized, having a sense of purpose, being trusted to do your work. Those are powerful, powerful motivators that OB takes very seriously. So D is officially busted. Okay, so we've cleared away all the myths. We know what OB isn't. So now we're left with the real deal. Let's unlock the true power of what organizational behavior actually is. And here we have it. The real goal of organizational behavior is to explain, predict, and influence human behavior. Now listen, this is more than just a textbook definition. This is a powerful three-step mission that can completely change how you look at your job, your team, and your entire workplace. Let's break down what those three words really mean. Think of it this way. Each part builds on the last. First, you explain. You're like a detective, trying to figure out the why. Why is that team so creative? Why is morale dipping in that department? Then, with that understanding, you can predict. You can start to anticipate how people might react to a new policy or a big change. And then, here's the most powerful part. You can influence. You use that knowledge to actually make things better, to proactively shape a more positive and effective work environment. So that all sounds pretty great, right? But you might be thinking, okay, that's the theory, but what does this mean for me on a random Wednesday afternoon? How does this actually work in the real world? This quote from our source material just nails it. This isn't a passive science where you just sit back and observe. It's an active one. It's about understanding what people do at work, not just for the sake of knowing, but so you can help shape it for the better. It's about explaining and shaping. So what this really does is it gives you a whole new lens to see your workplace through. Before, you might just see a problem and state it as a fact. My team is totally unmotivated. But with this new OB lens, you start asking smarter questions. You try to explain why they might be unmotivated. You start to predict what kinds of changes could actually light a fire under them. And you actively look for ways to influence the situation to get a better outcome. See the difference? It takes you from being a passenger to being in the driver's seat. In making that shift, well,
It's kind of like getting a superpower. It doesn't matter if you're the CEO or a brand new hire. This knowledge gives you the tools to really understand the people around you, to make smarter decisions, to navigate those tricky workplace challenges, and ultimately to be a way more effective and thoughtful leader, teammate, and colleague. So I'll leave you with this challenge. Think about one thing happening at your job right now. Could be a coworker's weird habit, a frustrating process, anything. Now, try to look at it through this new lens of explain, predict, and influence. How does that change your perspective? That, right there, is the power of organizational behavior in action.